On this, we are now being joined by our correspondent Jody Cohen from Ra'anana. Jody Cohen, good to see you. What's the latest on the 69th Squadron and their opposition against the government judicial reform plans?
Hi, Eric. Yes, so 37 of the 40 reservists from the 69th IAF fighter jet squadron has said that they will attend service if operations are needed, but they won't attend a training session on Wednesday, and that's in protest at the judicial reform plans. Now, remember, we've seen mass protests, up to a 250,000 people most recently at the weekend, against the government's plans to weaken the judiciary. The government says that the courts took unrestricted power over Parliament in the 1990s, but the protesters are saying that these reforms would swing too far in favour of the government. Now, this is an important squadron. They carried out the strikes on Syria's nuclear reactor in 2007, and in recent years they've been involved in the strikes against Iranian entrenchment in Syria. The IDF chief, Herzi Halevi, as you said, warned Prime Minister Netanyahu, saying that the reservist protests could spread, and Defence Minister Gallant said the same thing. He said that politics must stay out of the army, and he called for negotiations to reach a compromise.
Jody, are the reservist protests likely to spread? Because Halevi says it could harm the army's operational capacity. What impact will that have on the government's plans?
So former IAF chief Ben Eliyahu, he said that he's never before seen anything like this. And we also know that a handful of reservists in the elite 8200 intelligence unit said they won't report for duty this week. Roy Konkol, the former spokesperson to the head of the opposition, Yair Lapid, has said on social media that he won't carry out his reserve service. Lapid said that's wrong, and former Defence Minister and IDF chief Benny Gantz, who's also a leading voice against these judicial reform plans, he's called on reservists to turn up for duty and to protest instead at the demonstrations. But these calls are growing. Last week, we saw 4 prominent Likud and opposition MPs together call for talks. And now 4 major business associations have also been calling for talks without preconditions on Tuesday. Now, Tuesday's a holiday in Israel, and Parliament isn't going to be convening from later today until Thursday. So there is a natural pause in the legislation for these few days. The coalition has agreed to talks and called on the opposition to suggest alternative proposals. The opposition said that they would go and talk today, but that the coalition has to stop legislation first. The protesters, meanwhile, are saying on Thursday they're going to call that another national day of destruction. So it looks like there's this stalemate right now in terms of the talks, at least openly, and we're going to be likely to see more protests on Thursday.
Live from Ra'anana, Israel, our correspondent Jody Cohen, thank you. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.